welcome back to GrandOldTeam TV. Today I'm joined by Simon Magner, who's joining me on a Sunday night. He's just put his kids to bed, and we were speaking just then, Si, before I knocked the camera on, just saying about how I don't have to. I've got the luxury of not having to do that yet. It sounds like a little bit of a hassle, mate, to be honest.
No, it's not too bad, mate. It's once you get them into a routine, it's all right. But the youngest one's teething at the moment, so it's always an interesting time.
Mate, it sounds absolutely frightening, to be honest, the whole kids thing. I was at an award ceremony on Thursday with the guys from GrandOldTeam, and a few of them are parents, and they were telling me about the lack of sleep that they get. And I've got cats at the moment, mate, and I'm thinking I might just try and steer the missus just towards cats. We'll just stick with cats for the entirety of our lives, I think. But no, I'm sure there's plenty of good sides as well, mate. So, hey, let's first of all, obviously you've been involved, or you are heavily involved in the Everton Supporters Trust. We'll talk about them in a second because that's the whole idea of us hooking up and having this conversation. But first of all, let's just talk about the match yesterday. Obviously, a disappointing draw in the end with Swansea. I think it's a game that we probably expected to win. What are your overall thoughts, mate? Did you expect a little bit more of a reaction from the players yesterday, given what we were served up against Chelsea 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in that sort of phase at the moment. It's a little bit of limbo phase where we seem to have a couple of poor results and then a couple of good results, and I think it's really quite hard to sort of get a gauge on the progress that we're making at the moment because of that. You look at the position in the league, it's not awful, but there is huge room for improvement. I think everyone can see that. Yesterday, I thought we should have any home game you want to win, full stop. So I was expecting a victory yesterday, but to be fair, Swansea, a new manager, who's not a bad manager. He's got a bit about him, and come in and sort of rejuvenated the team there a little bit. And trying to pick up some results. So it was always going to be a tough game, but still expected the 3 points, and a little bit disappointing at the end of the day.
For maybe Evertonians out there that aren't too familiar with what the trust is about, then when did it start, and what are the aims of the Everton Supporters Trust?
The trust's been about almost 2 years now. We signed the rules and we got registered with the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, in February, March last year. So we're coming up to our 2-year anniversary, which is flown by. The aim of the trust is to give the fans an independent and constructive voice in hopefully in the way that the club runs and operates, and the way we intend to work is to be a sort of a vehicle for fans to come to us, and we'll get in touch with the club with ideas and thoughts and certain other things. And some of the stuff we've been working on at the moment is stuff like the affordable football campaign, national campaign with the FSF, 20's plenty, and that sort of stuff. And obviously you've seen the food bank that we do around the ground before home games. We do that in conjunction with Spirits of Shankly, who do it for Liverpool games. We're also looking at the safe standing as well. We've sent out a survey in the last couple of weeks, and we just want to get thoughts and opinions on safe standing from the wider fan base. And then once obviously we get all that information, we'll collate it, take it to the club. Obviously we won't be able to say every Evertonian's voted in this, but we'll try and get as many voices as we can, as many opinions as we can, so we can fairly say, we think that the vast majority of Evertonians want this or want that. So that's all that the trust is there for, is an independent voice for Evertonians. We're a democratically elected organisation as well, so all of the people that are involved in the trust as officers or on the committee that meet on a regular basis, they're all elected onto that at our yearly AGMs. So it's democratically elected and independent, and we hope a representative voice for the fans.
No, I like it. And do you know what? I filled out your questionnaire the other
Yeah.
week. And I think it's fantastic, and I think as supporters, it's nice to know that there are people out there that will go and talk to the club on our behalf and try and get a good understanding of what the supporter base wants. Obviously, it's not an exact science. There's lots of different types of Evertonians with lots of different opinions on what their match day experience should be and how the club should be run. But I think you guys just getting that overall view is great. So, how much of a response do you actually get from the club then, Si? Do you get a lot of? Do you find that they're quite receptive to this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Every time we've contacted them, we've always had a response back to us, and sometimes it's been in our favour, sometimes it's not been in our favour, and that's just the sort of environment that you work in, I guess. And one of the campaigns that we've got at the moment that we're working on is I'm not sure if you remember back in the 70s and 80s, pictures of the golden era of Everton Football Club, and you see at the corners of the street end and in the park end, the Little Woods clocks.
Right.
They got threw out in the early 90s, and one of the guys actually rescued one of them from a skip, believe it or not, and he's donated this Little Woods clock to the trust.
So the clock had just been sitting in a skip for like 2 decades then?
Well, not for 2 decades. When it got threw out, and the guy rescued it from the skip, and it's been sitting in his house for 2 decades, literally.
Oh, I see. I'm with you, right? Yeah. Oh, fair play. So he's had that, and then of course.
Yeah. So we've he contacted us earlier in the year, and he made us aware that he had the Little Woods clock. It's just a face, and he was it's sitting in his gathering dust, and he wanted to go back where it belongs, and we're in the middle at the moment of we're in dialogue with the club over refurbishing. We were going to put a lottery fund bid in to get the clock refurbished, and then we were going to also crowdsource a little bit to try and get the fans to get involved in that as well. So in that particular campaign, we've contacted the club, and they've been great over it, and been dead accommodating, brought us in, asked what you need from us, and we've said, well, this is what we need and this is what we're looking at, and they've been brilliant. So that's one aspect of how a collaborative working has worked really well for us.
Has anything changed since the Mashiri era? Have you noticed like the club maybe acting in a different way? Has there been any notable kind of differences with the way that you've been able to communicate with them, or not?
To be honest, I mean, I've had my differences with certain people at the club in over the last couple of years, but every time I've contacted them in one way, shape or form, they've always got back, and they've, like I say, sometimes they've been receptive to the sort of stuff that we've put across, and other ways they haven't. And like I say, that's just the environment that you work in. Sometimes they're on board with that, and sometimes they get it, and sometimes not. The last couple of years, though, certainly last 12, 18 months, I'd say that they're more on board with, engaging more with us. And I think the wider fan base have seen them more. I think there was a big change around when Martinez first came in, and I think I don't know if you remember Alan Myers.
I do. Yeah, I'm trying to get him onto the show, to be honest.
Yeah, and he started doing sort of like the Big Brew or something like that, wasn't it? Where he got fans in for a cup of tea and to sit down and discuss things, and that was great. And that was like really the first sort of, I'd say, thawing of like opinions between fans and the club over the last couple of years. And that I think that since then, the club haven't looked back, and they've been going on, and they have been doing some really good stuff working with fans. They've helped us out
within the local community as well. Si, I've spoken to people who live a little bit more locally to Goodison, obviously, than I do, and they've spoken about the work that Everton do actually within and around the area that they're based in, and I think that there's a lot of positive noises coming out from them from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, Everton and the community, I mean, you can't speak highly enough of them. I think it speaks volumes when all of the sorts of like football club charities are based on Everton and the community. I think that speaks volumes, and what they do in in the local community, and what they do for stuff like mental health and stuff like that. It's fantastic. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, fair play. It's good to hear. And my experience of Everton has actually been pretty good as well. I've recently been down to the training ground to do an interview with the ladies team and the ladies manager. And yeah, I found them really pleasant when I went down there, very accommodating. So that's always nice to think as an Evertonian. It just makes you feel you have that little bit more pride in the club, and I think it's a nice touch from them. Ticket prices is a big thing though at the moment, and this isn't something that's specific to Everton, but I know it's something that you guys at the Everton Supporters Trust are quite keen on taking some action upon. What so far the work that you've done? You said you were involved in the 20s Plenty campaign. What else do you think the club needs to do with regards to ticket prices? Si, what else would you guys like to see Everton do specifically?
I'd like to see cheaper tickets. To be honest with you, I don't mince my words on that. I think what Everton do are brilliant at the moment with their tickets compared to the rest of the league. Our season tickets and our daily match, the cheapest match tickets are we're really competitive with the rest of the league. But with the new Sky deal, with the new the new money that clubs are getting in on a yearly basis, the clubs could let you in free of charge and still not be worse off than what they were on the previous TV deal. So that's all. When you talk about figures like that, that kind of gives you an idea of the money that's in the game right now. And the 20s Plenty campaign we've had over the last 12 months, we've had a really good win with the away tickets being capped at £30.
Yeah, and it's a big difference actually. One of the ones that I saw that was a big difference. I remember going to Chelsea a few years ago and that being £50.
Yeah.
And then I noticed now it's 30. So there's been some success there.
Yeah, major, and I think Arsenal have often been held up as one of the most expensive teams, and what they've done actually is they've taken the price of away match tickets down further. So they've capped it at 30 and then reduced it again, which is great. And I think last year Swansea they had away tickets priced at £23 again, which is great. But £30 for an away match ticket, I don't think 3 years ago we could have ever dreamed of anything like that, having that kind of achievement in such a short space of time. But it's fantastic, and it keeps it in times of austerity, and tying your belt tighter. It gives you a couple of extra quid in a supporter's pocket, and that's you take some real satisfaction out of that. But we've still got a long way to go, and in the long run, I'd like to see cheap match tickets across the board, not just away tickets, but home tickets. Like say, Everton do have competitive with the rest of the league home ticket prices, but I do think that the clubs can afford to bring them down further.
Yeah, no, and fantastic work there. With the work that you've been involved in for the 20s Plenty stuff as well. That's all good stuff, mate. What about safe standing then, Si? Because that's something that has been in the news recently, hasn't it? Safe standing, and I think there's a few clubs now that are seriously thinking about it with regards to their stadiums. Obviously, we potentially could move pretty soon. That looks like something's going to happen, whether it's the docks or the other place. Who knows? What have Everton spoken to you about this? What's the Supporters Trust official stance on this? Where are you at with safe standing?
Well, the official stance of the Supporters Trust is that we encourage the debate, and we haven't taken one view of one or the other, one side over one or the other. We want to engage in the debate, and we want the club to get involved in that. We want the fans to get involved in that. And obviously in this city, and obviously with the club's relationship with the Hillsborough Family Support Group, it's really contentious issue. It's a really it hits home hard. But I think since in the last 12 months with everything that's that we already knew that's come out over Hillsborough, that's been confirmed in the Hillsborough inquiry. I think it's time now to sort of understand that football fans and the game has evolved in the last 20 years. It's not the same as it was in the 80s. And I think it's time that all sort of every kind of aspect of football gets involved in this debate and has a a grown up adult debate over it. Get the pros and cons out there, listen to people who are for, listen to people who are against, and take it forward. And I truly believe it's the fans that have got to make the decision, and it's the clubs that have got to listen to the fans. If the fans say that there should be a managed safe standing section, then I think that the clubs have a duty as custodians. The people that run it have a duty as custodians to listen to the fans and act upon that, and that's what we want to see. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. At the moment, one of my sort of biggest concerns and what you get when I've been speaking to people. I was at Goodison before the match yesterday, and I was speaking to quite a few people up at St Luke's, which is where we go, about the safe standing, and a lot of people who it's quite refreshing seeing sort of the older generation that have come to us and taken part in the survey, and these are people that have been in the terrace. They were around in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and they were in the terraces then, and loads of them come up to me and said, I prefer to sit, but I do believe that fans should be given a choice whether to sit or stand. And these are people that have been around, in that era, in that environment, and they're saying that that they believe the fans should be given a choice. And it's great to get those kind of views on board, and even people who are dead against it. They haven't. The feedback that I've been getting. They do believe that the debate is needed, and finally just to get it out of there, put a sort of nail in the coffin of the subject, if you will.
Yeah. Well, as you say, the football has changed so much and evolved so much now, and I think it would be managed far better than it would have ever have been before now. You'd have a strict allocation of people that could enter into that area where you were able to stand. There would be plenty of space allocated. I think the arguments that I hear for it are very compelling, to be honest, and I'm not too sure whether I'd be in there or not, to be honest. I'm getting a bit lazy in my old age. I'd probably like to sit down and just have a moan when I'm at the footy. However, a few years ago, I'd have been right in there, wanting to chant and sing and whatever, and I think having two options, as long as it's a safe option, and I don't think, Simon, I think you agree with me on this, nobody's proposing that we go back in time. You have the big fences up and you just stuff a load of people in there, because obviously, as we know, that causes issues. But I think if it was managed properly, I think it's something that could be done responsibly, and I think it would improve, wouldn't it, the atmosphere at the game? Because that's one criticism I think we all have of Premier League matches now is the atmosphere.
It's stale, a bit sterile. I'm the same as yourself. I think personally, I think I prefer to sit. I prefer a sort of an elevated position where I can see the match unfold, and but there are people, and all you have to do is, if you watch replays of the game yesterday, the street end were standing for large periods of time. When the camera was on them, and you look at you watch away games, and you've been to away games yourself, and the amount of times, all the time, and I've had conversations with people where they've said, well, you're standing in sections that aren't designed to stand. You're not allowed to stand. When we score goals, I don't know about you, but I need bloody shim transplants after that.
I've had it, mate.
And 3 or 4 rows ahead of us. People just come all over the place, but and it is a surprise in those environments that there haven't been serious accidents because of that. But all that sort of stuff needs to be taken into consideration, and I think a lot of the people, the feedback that I've had, when I've been speaking to them yesterday, and it was only yesterday that we were out doing one-to-one sort of consultation. We'll be there at St Luke's and hopefully around the ground again at the United game. But a lot of them, when they're looking further into it, the safe standing, using the sort of Celtic example, that's the rail seats. So that's you get a ticket, and it's like you get a ticket today. So you've got a seat and an allocation, but when you've got the standing, they're sort of like the seats are raised and they're tied back, so you're standing specifically. But if you come to a game like at the moment, think Celtic and the German teams that have the standing option in the European games, they've got to sit. So the rail seats are brought into effect. So the seats are sort of lower than they're allowed to sit in there. So it acts as two, both as seating and as safe standing. And I think when you use the Celtic example, that seems to be a really popular thing for them up there, and they've seemed to taken to it like ducks to water.
Cool. Okay, so I think we've come to the end of the interview. Unfortunately, I had a few other questions that I wanted to ask you, but we'll get you back on later on in the year to discuss them. Just a quick one though before you go, mate. The food bank stuff that you do at St. Luke's. If anyone wants to donate, you just give a few details of where they can go for that.
For the Everton home games, we have collection points at St. Luke's, at the Winslow pub, and at the fan zone. There's a van in the fan zone. We collect every home game. If by any chance there's any Liverpool fans that are listening, doubt that there are, but the food bank is it's sort of an amalgamation of Everton Supporters Trust and the Spirit of Shankly. They do food bank collections as well under the same fan support and food bank umbrella. So they collect at their fan zone and the Hillsborough Justice shop as well. So yeah, if you go onto our website, under our campaigns, there's the fan support and food banks. There's a list there, the food that we it's just the stuff like dry pasta and that kind of thing, long life stuff. And we're looking for donations at every home game. Some of the donations that we get. Yesterday the van was full. We had a fantastic donation from the Former Players Foundation, which is brilliant. Every week we're getting more and more, and that's what we need, and especially with the time of the year, with it getting colder, Christmas coming up, we just need as much food as possible. Get it in. We had an amazing donation a couple of weeks ago. We got a donation of over £47,000 worth of Jaffa cakes. So we had to get rid of £47,000 worth of Jaffa cakes. So they ended up all over the region. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. I couldn't believe our eyes when we got the donation. It was brilliant. But it's going from strength to strength. Check the website out. Have a look at the fan support and food banks and some of the other content that's on there as well. And donate if you can. Come and see us in St. Luke's. Come and see us at the fan zone.
Course, yeah. Obviously, if you anybody watching to go to the Manchester United game, which I assume quite a few of you are, obviously get down and donate to the food bank there. So, Si, thanks for coming on to Grand Old Team TV. Really appreciate it on a Sunday night, mate. And I'll speak to you soon.